Had quite the opportunity this morning to speak with one of our favorite guys, one of our favorite BYU alumni.
B squared, yeah. Brian Billick, NFL, Super Bowl champ, of course, with the 2000 Ravens, known as one of the best defenses of all time. Fun conversation. Former BYU tight end here in the 70s, and has won a Super Bowl like Andy Reid, like Mike Holmgren. So BYU has a history here. Fun conversation this morning with Brian about Tampa Bay and Kansas City and Andy Reid and Daniel Sorensen and winning an Emmy and his shelf's better than ours here. Here's the conversation on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Okay, Brian, I thought your wardrobe might give away which way you were leaning in the Super Bowl, but it kind of goes both ways. So wardrobe doesn't work out in that way, I guess.
No, I'm in Columbus, Ohio now. So I've got you. If you're not wearing Ohio State colors, they kind of shun you out of the grocery store and the cleaners. So I've got to go to the store today. So I better dress appropriately.
Yeah, and you have to say the Ohio State, right? Yeah, that's just how it is.
The Ohio State University. You're right. I stand corrected.
Exactly. Well, certainly the Super Bowl tomorrow. Sunday. We're excited to have you on to talk about that. So, Andy Reid, Daniel Sorensen representing BYU in the Super Bowl. This has been a game that's featured a lot of Cougars historically. Of course, you won the Super Bowl famously with the Ravens. So what do you think of this matchup with Andy Reid trying to go back-to-back against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers?
Yeah, it's, people keep saying just how difficult it is to win back-to-back Super Bowls. And I go, no. It's hard to win a Super Bowl, period. The fact that it's back-to-back, it's almost prohibitive. Just so many things have to happen. But obviously, Andy's done a phenomenal job. This is just such a special team, and it all revolves around Pat Mahomes. I mean, this guy is so unique, so special in what he does. But, of course, he's going against the GOAT. And you bet against Tom Brady, you do so at your own peril.
So what do you think of the matchup in terms of who has the upper hand in this? Because obviously Kansas City has been rolling, and Patrick Mahomes luckily is healthy and in the game. Yet, as you mentioned, Tom Brady, and we'll talk about his legacy in a moment, but this is a quarterback matchup that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, it always seems to come down to the quarterbacks. I am going to be very interested in seeing how the defenses align themselves. I mean, the plan's, as Marv Levy used to say, simple but not easy. You can't give up the big plays. That's Jets' job one. We learned that in the first game. They know they can't go man against Tyreek Hill. It was embarrassing how he went off on them in the first game. They adjusted, and remember, that eventually was just a 3-point win by Kansas City after a phenomenal start. You get both teams. You can't give up the big play. Equally for Tampa Bay. Right now, Brady's playing brilliantly, small ball, Brady ball, run the ball. But when you give him that opportunity to get to Godwin, to get to Evans, to get to Antonio Brown, he's going to take it. And so both teams know you got to make him go the length of the field. I think we'll be up and down the field. Get into the red zone, that's the key. If Tampa can make Kansas City kick a field goal instead of a touchdown, trade a field goal for a touchdown, all that speed they have gets a little negated in the red zone, where Tampa Bay maybe can pound it in and be a little more efficient. So if they're going to be able to win, it's going to be because of what they're able to do in the red zone. I'm talking about Tampa Bay.
Talking with Brian Billick, former Cougar player, Super Bowl champion here on BYU Sports Nation. Brian, if your 2000 Ravens defense was going up against this 2020 Chiefs offense, what would that matchup be like?
Yeah, well, I was with Ray Lewis the other day, and I asked him that same question. And he just looked at me and he said, we'd hit them a lot. and that would be an interesting matchup because that team, you weren't going to run on that team. We were able to get pressure with a 4-man rush. Good matchups on the back end. You got Ray Lewis in the middle. I mean, Kansas City's spectacular. You're not going to stop them. All you again can hope to do is to slow them down and again be efficient in the red zone. The challenge would have been obviously for us offensively to keep up because that's the other part of it. You can do all those things to challenge Kansas City, make them kick field goals instead of touchdowns, but your offense has to respond as well. It has to keep up with them, or all of a sudden you just that slow trickle of down by 7, down by 10, down by 13, down by 20 just keeps adding up.
Now, I don't know about you, but viewers out there, if you're trying to impress on your Zooms, I don't think you can beat Brian Billick with an Emmy and a Super Bowl trophy behind you. That's pretty impressive.
I'm an old man, you gather enough hardware. It's a pretty good thing to do.
Hey, I'd take one of those, let alone two. So that's pretty good. Who would line up on Travis Kelce from the 2000 Ravens?
Well, I've been saying you can take anything you want away from an offense. You want to take Tyreek Hill out of the offense? No problem. You want to take Travis Kelce out of the offense? No problem. You want to take both out of the offense? Now you got a problem because you just run out of numbers. You're going to have to jam them on the line. You're going to have to bring a safety down. We had Herring and Rod Woodson certainly in that cover situation. Jamie Sharper on the outside at linebacker. You got to do a lot of things. The problem is that you can't go as good as we were. We didn't have anybody, even with Dwayne Starks and Chris McAllister, anybody that could go one-on-one with Tyreek Hill. And obviously Tampa Bay does not. They've learned that. So you can't, you've got to combination that off as well. So that's the tough thing. So then, okay, so you get a 4-man rush and you take care of those two. Well, they still have Hardman, they still have Watkins. So yeah, it's a tall order.
Certainly, LaVell Edwards had a massive influence on everyone that he coached. Andy Reid pretty vocal about the influence that BYU and LaVell had on him. Where do you see that manifest itself the most on and off the field?
Well, LaVell always had the bigger view. By that, I mean, he wasn't the strategic, tactical X and O guru on the offense or defensive side. He hired good people. He let them coach, but he kept such a balance for the players on and off the field and looked at them as the whole player. And obviously as a college coach, it's a little bit different in the pros, but yes, that has to be a priority in terms of you're developing these young people. But he always kept the game in perspective and made you work hard. But by the same token, respected the demands on you, the fact that you were going through college, you had a life outside of football. That's really, really important. I think you see that with a lot of the young coaches today. I think they have a bigger view, a more holistic view of their players and their team.
Certainly the first home game for a team in the Super Bowl is interesting. Do you think that will make a difference for Tampa Bay in this?
I think that's been overblown. The fact that it hadn't happened, yeah, it was cute. And the fact that it's happening now, and it would happen at a time where obviously the fans can't be there.
Yeah, what's up with that?
For those that have been to a Super Bowl, it tends to be a fairly neutral crowd. In other words, you have kind of the same amount of fans from one side as the other, plus you have a whole bunch of fans that are just there to go to a Super Bowl. This is going to be, I think, a good game for the very fact that the Super Bowl hoopla. I mean, normally right now we'd be talking about, well, what are the effects of the Super Bowl week and all the distractions and which team's going to handle it best and how's it going to affect the game? Well, we don't have that. I mean, Kansas City's not even coming in till Saturday. So this is going to feel, and people, I'm sure it's hard to appreciate, once the ball kicks off, it's just another game. At least that's what you want as a coach. Now, the ramifications of it, what happens afterwards, certainly. But you want to get into that normalcy during the week in your practice and into the game as quickly as you can. You don't want to make it too big and internalize that kind of pressure. And this week has been ideal for those coaches. They've prepared in just a normal way, able to keep that normalcy for the players. So I think we'll see it on the field that it will be a very good game from the get-go.
And then we look ahead to the NFL draft. Certainly Zach Wilson making waves, a probable top 5 pick, top 10. It feels like almost for sure. What do you think of Zach Wilson and his prospects in the NFL?
Outstanding. He has all the attributes. Coming from a program that has used him the way that he has, I think people are very attracted to him. He has all the physical skills. He seems to have a pretty good demeanor about him. The only concern, I think, and between now and the draft, we're going to pick these guys apart. Even Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Zach the same way, and Trey Lance and Kyle Trask, the whole group. We'll start picking them apart as we typically do. And, well, what about this? What about that? The only thing I think that will come up with Zach is that a phenomenal year this year in a very unique year. The big jump from last year, touchdown to interception ratio, from last year to this year. And which is good. I mean, that's what you want. But the fact that it was such a dramatic jump, it's a little like a guy that really has only played the 1 year. You worry a little bit about, well, what was the reason for that? Were there external reasons for it? Is he more like the latter rather than the former? But I think the way he performed this year, again, and the team was spectacular under adverse conditions. I think he'll check all those boxes. And I agree. It's hard to imagine him not being a top 5 pick.
From 74 to 76, when you were at BYU, what was the building on campus you hung out the most in, and where was the hangout spot in Provo?
Wow, boy! Now we were at the Smith Fieldhouse a ton, obviously, and used to have that little burger shop. Though it was probably not even there, below the stands, the old basketball arena. That was kind of our go-to for lunch. Now I know I was up there not long ago. Tom Hommel invited me in to visit with the team, and the setup that they have now and the way it's phenomenal. But no, we were having to eat burgers in that greasy old thing underneath the under the stands. Of course, I majored in communication, so I was in if it's the same building, I'm assuming it is. That was
Brim
there
Hall
a
building?
Great deal. This was the God, is it Gates? No, I'm drawing a blank. The studios were all up by the main administration building, so it's probably moved. But I spent a lot of time there, obviously, and a lot of time, obviously, around the dormitories where we had training camp meals.
Well, fun times, Brian. We always appreciate it. Great insight, and we look forward to the Super Bowl tomorrow with a couple of Cougs. Or Sunday. I keep wanting it to be tomorrow. I guess Sunday.
Yeah, I know, everybody, and maybe the players want it too. Right now, from now until game time is the longest 2 days of your life. It just seems like it takes forever to get there.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the time, Brian. Thanks.
Sounds good.